Crash Bandicoot 4 It's About Time released just under 2 weeks ago, and I've been enjoying it immensely. I'm loving the gameplay, the visuals, the story, the difficulty, the size of the game, it's all been fantastic. But I'm particularly enjoying the soundtrack as well. Composed by Walter Mayer, the Crash 4 soundtrack is absolutely phenomenal. I think it's very catchy and absolutely overflowing with earworms. Over the last couple of weeks, I've been listening to the tracks as they've been ripped from the game and uploaded online, but recently I stumbled across a track that is particularly special. A YouTube user named Albert Vamp Prince, who has been uploading hour-long extensions of each of the Crash 4 songs, has also uploaded a Crash 4 song called Halloween Party, which, as of right now, is currently unused in the game. As in, it's not heard in-game at all. If you're curious to what it sounds like, well, it's currently playing in the background of the video. It is rather unusual for this track to even exist, since there are no locations in Crash 4 that resemble a Halloween theme, with the exception of the level Offbeat, which features ghosts, skeletons, and clowns and such. So what could this track be for? Well, it's entirely likely that it's just an unused song. Maybe there was originally going to be a Halloween themed level and they just scrapped it. But I don't think that's the case. I think that this track's existence hints towards a DLC for Crash 4, so I'm going to break down this idea in detail to see if my little bit of speculation could potentially be true. DLC is not new to Crash at all. The Insane Trilogy had 2 bonus levels as additional content, being Stormy Ascent and Future Tense, and Crash Team Racing Nitro Fueled went absolutely above and beyond with free DLC, which carried on for almost a year and included an uncountable amount of customization items, in addition to new playable characters and new racetracks. So having some kind of DLC in Crash 4 is not a particularly far-fetched idea. But how does an unused track have anything to do with the possibility of DLC, I hear you ask? Well, think about it. We're in October. This time last year we were enjoying the 4th Grand Prix of the Crash Team Racing Nitro Fueled post-launch DLC, which was the Spooky Grand Prix. Quite obviously a Halloween themed event, there's no argument against that. Interestingly, this October we find ourselves listening to a spooky song, named Halloween Party, currently unused in Crash 4 and only weeks away from Halloween. You see what I'm trying to say? I think it's very possible we could be hearing the music for a potential Halloween DLC level pack that could release within the next few weeks. That's not all though. I'm not entirely clear on all the details, but I have heard that apparently there's been a data mine of the game, which includes skins for Crash, Coco, Torna, Dingodile and Cortex that aren't actually in the game, as well as some other images and bits and pieces that reference characters like the Elementals. It could be that these are just unused, but it could also be that they're being saved for a DLC update. I mean, data mining was how we found out about and predicted future content for Nitro Fueled before the updates had been announced. Beanox had even caught on with the data mining and teased us by naming one of the data mine drivers, Who Am I? And Who Could I Be? We could be looking at a similar situation with Crash 4. My last little piece of evidence, if you can call it that, is the whole shebang with in-game purchases. Leading up to the game's release, Toys for Bob really hammered down on the fact that Crash 4 would have no microtransactions. And it doesn't. Yet, even so, there were listings for in-game purchases in the PlayStation and Microsoft stores. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe they're still there. Since there is currently no way to buy anything in the game or buy any additional content at the moment, it must mean that it's either a mistake that those purchases are listed, or that players will be able to purchase DLC at some point. This is all obviously quite far from confirmation, but all this stuff definitely holds some weight, and could potentially mean there's some DLC in store for us. It's not impossible, but DLC for games like Crash 4 doesn't happen all too often. However, I do think DLC for Crash 4 could work quite easily. I reckon it would work best as a sort of level pack system. Worlds in Crash 4 are actually quite small. They usually consist of 3 levels for Crash and Coco, at least 1 timeline level from either Torna, Dingodile or Cortex, and the occasional boss level. The way I see it, they could release a world as a level pack and add it to the dimensional map somewhere. If we do end up getting a Halloween level pack, it could include this mysterious Halloween party level, 2 other spooky themed levels, a timeline level, and maybe a boss fight at the end against Nina Cortex or Madame Ambly or Mr. Crumb or something. They could even have their own little mini cutscenes between levels to tell a story for said world if they wanted. Crash 4 is littered with cameos from characters that don't actually appear in the game, which include Tiny, Pinstripe, Koala Kong, Ripperoo, Papu Papu, Crunch, the Elementals, Megamix, Nina Cortex, the Evil Twins, and probably a lot more who I've forgotten. Perhaps these level packs will allow these characters to appear in Crash 4 and get involved with a little side story. It doesn't sound like a lot per level pack, but it would take a lot of time, effort and work to actually put it all together. So if we are getting DLC level packs periodically like I'm speculating, I don't think we'd get them monthly like we did with Crash Team Racing Nitro Fueled. I would assume one pack every few months if that was the case. But of course, this is all just speculation, just wishful thinking from the most hopeful chunk of my brain. What do you think? What do you think this mystery song is for? And what about these data mine skins and the in-game purchases? Do you think it's all hinting at possible DLC? Or is it just content that is and always will be unused? Let me know what you think, and hey, DLC or not, at least this song exists. And just like every other song in Crash 4, it is spectacular.